Good evening, folks. Oh, okay, so Jonathan just joined us. Perfect. Excellent. Okay, folks, Tammy and I are very honored this evening to introduce our newly appointed CEO. I have a little bio that I want to share with you before I pass the word to Jonathan. And as I mentioned last week, we had a session with Joe Wojtecki. And as you know, Joe Wojtecki has been appointed a new position as a chairman in the company. And in fact, you'll be quite impressed with the background that Jonathan has to that comes with him. And today is really a session, not a session to kind of it's more of getting a better understanding of where Max is going, the direction that they're taking, and it's actually really, really, really positive. And I know that there's been a few bruises that's been going on over the years in line to, what's been going on with their products and everything else. And Jonathan he's at the forefront right now, actually battling all of these things. And I think you'll be very pleased and happy to hear what he has to say. But just before I introduce Jonathan here, let me just share his bio so everybody has a feel for who he is and what he brings to the table. So some of you might recall, okay, what's going on here? Just bear with me. Are you guys able to see the screen? Yeah, okay, perfect. And if some of you may or may not remember, but when Tammy and I started back, was that almost 18 years ago, 17 years and a half at least, one of the things that was a pull for us, it was the association that was associated with Max International, where Gothiranker were part of the investors. And as a matter of fact, Jonathan, as you can see here in his bio, which I'll go through in a minute, was heavily involved. And it's really interesting that we're going to a full circle, and it sends a very strong message on the belief of what we have and the message that we have to deliver. But just kind of look at the bio that he has here. Launch and manage a brand generating over $14 billion in sales. Success in Gothiranker took sales from 30 million annually to 1.8 billion annually. Launched ageless male, annual sales of 150 million per year, number one in the detail category. Launched Super Beta Prostate, annual sales of 90 million per year, number two in retail category. Now you guys can see what's going on over here. Some of you might know Beachbody. Tammy used their trainings every single day, still today. The P90X, remember, it was killing us doing this one, right?
I even bought Ageless too. I bought a lot of these products that he promoted.
Yeah.
Through Gothiranker. So
Yeah.
incredible.
So it's, again, there's a lot that comes behind it. And it's really interesting too that there is a lot of credibility around his association. And I think that all of that, and I say I think because I'm also getting to know all of this just as you are, it's really going to serve us well here at Max International. So Jonathan, I'm just going to stop the screen share here for a moment so we can really focus on you. Just let me find you here in the list. Here you are. Okay, perfect. Jonathan, so first of all, we want to thank you for taking the time. I know that you're dealing with the banks and you're dealing with quite a few things, and I kind of pulled you out to be able to. In fact, Jonathan was so graceful. He asked me if it's possible to, reschedule the call and everything else. I said, well, we have these calls every week and everything else is okay. Let me cancel the bank. I want to talk to these people. So I just want you guys to understand that Max is a priority. So Jonathan, I know they saw your bio. I didn't go through the entire list here. There's quite a bit going on, but I know you might share this. And I know that we've sent you some questions that that the team has. This call is also broadcasted on our YouTube channel. With about 1,500 people there that can actually come back and listen to all of this. So we want to thank you for joining us and really, really appreciate your time. So I'm going to turn this over to you to share what you feel is appropriate. It's an open forum, and I will add the questions if you don't address them.
First of all, thank you. All these warm welcomes. I'm not used to it. I really appreciate it, and Chris, I'm really glad I am thrilled to be pulled off the call with the banks. And so if you would have said, "Hey, can you just talk about cartoons?" I would have gotten off the call. No, I'm just kidding. This is my priority. This group, you people are my priority. The banks are not. And that makes me different, I think, than most people. And the reason why the banks aren't my priority, and it's not that it's not the priority to me is the business. And when the priority ceases to be the business, I should not be the CEO of the business. I think it's I'm very grateful for Chris and Tammy to remind me that this meeting this was a meeting to talk to a bunch of people to talk to you in specific because the banks are the banks, and vendors are vendors, and some of those relationships are good, and some of the relationships aren't very good, but I'll deal with them. Um, uh, and I deal with them honestly, and I deal with them in integrity, and I tell them what I'm going to do, and I do it. And so I'm not worried what the banks think about me. I'm more concerned with what you think about me. And when I say that, it's not an issue of adulation or congratulations, although you're saying terribly nice things to me. I mean, but I just, my job is in part to manage vendors and manage banks, but more importantly, my job is to give you the tools that you need to do what you do better. You do a fantastic job today. My job is to make it better. And not just make the business more money. That's part of it, but make your lives easier, make your lives more profitable, make your lives more interesting. And for me, integrate because you have all, you have all the answers. It's New York, and although I talk to everyone I can about Max International, and I spend someplace between 16 and 20 hours a day on it. I you folks are really the ones that bring the message to the market. You're the ones that are telling the story. You're the ones that are selling to customers. And anyone who's heard me talk at all about business in the last, I have one of these ring lights and I don't know how to use them clearly. Um, Anyone's heard me talk about any business. The most important thing for me in a business are the customers. And this business is very interesting because it has several layers of customers. We're all part of the same team, but you in fact are, I think maybe we've lost sight of about the fact that you guys are customers of the business, and you are really, as I like to say, the tip of the spear, the most important part of this. The message doesn't get out without you. We'll talk about that in a second because I want to help you with that. The sales don't really happen without you. Acquisition of new downline, acquisition of new associates, acquisition of new ideas, new concepts, new people, new marketing, so on and so forth. It doesn't happen, it doesn't happen without you. And the reality is that I don't think the company, and by the way, I have great admiration for Joe Wojcicki. Great admiration. I will tell you that when I was offered the position, and some of you maybe have heard this already, but I wouldn't take the position unless Joe was still involved. Not involved in the operation, not involved in the day-to-day management of the business, not involved in the mechanics of the business, but involved in, going out and speaking to new groups of people in different countries around the world, going out and spreading the message. He's exquisitely passionate about this. I think what happened with Joe is he got lots of Bernadette, it's nice to meet you as well, and you too, Bill. I think he got caught up a little bit in how to manage the day-to-day operations, and you have to turn that off to turn on when you're sitting in front of 500 people trying to extol the virtues of Max. Max to me is very important. As you learned, I was actually part of the original investment thesis from Guthrie Ranker from day one. And for 22 years, I've been wanting to do a project with glutathione. And the reality is I couldn't find anything that was bioavailable or absorbable or nearly as good as what Max is. I sat down 4 or 5 months ago. Somebody invited me to lunch. I went to lunch. As you can tell, I love to eat. And um, he said to me, "What do you know about glutathione?" I was like, "Ah, it's interesting. About 22 years ago, I did a project, an investment thesis, and so on and so forth. And I helped, initiate with Steve Scott and a bunch of other people the business of Max GXL." And he laughed. And I said, "What's wrong?" He goes, "Well, we own Max now." And I said, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "Yeah, Max." At the time, I like literally for 20 years, and I ran a supplement company called New Vitality. I started two functional medicine supplement companies. I've worked with Amy Myers. I've worked with Mark Hyman on developing supplementation. I've done domestic and international work. I've worked and developed products for India, products for China, and most of my life, quite frankly, was spent in skincare and other items as well. And so I spent about 3 or 4 months understanding some of what has been, and I'm just going to use the word plaguing, but maybe that's too harsh. Maybe it's not harsh enough. Some of the challenges that are facing Max. And it may help to know that I have gone in. I was the drop-in guy for a little bit. I worked for 4 different private equity groups. They would send me into fixed companies. And so when I dug into this, I was like, there's not that much to fix here. There's a couple of items that are really bothering everyone, and I know them and you know them. Expenses that don't need to be there. There's no inventory to be had, which is bizarre to me because we don't have a company for not selling inventory. Excuse me. You don't nearly have enough marketing. And so these are all very check the box, these are all very doable tasks. Um, there's no real expansion. The only expansion I can tell has been in some countries in Africa, which is good, but there are problems. There are financial problems associated with doing not just Africa, with different parts of the world where you have things like hyperinflation and you can run in place very hard and it becomes very difficult. And not, and last but not certainly not least is I don't think we have a fully integrated back office and support system for the company. And it became very clear to me that any one of those things is difficult, but all of them cause a lot of pain and angst and consternation. And so when I came in with some investors. I spoke very closely with a bunch of investors, and I sort of thumbnailed an amount that the company needed. And then when I was questioned on it, I yelled at the investors and I said to them, "You actually don't understand this if you don't under." And so I get along with everyone. I'm scrupulously honest. And so sometimes I say things that people don't want to hear, but I say them anyway, because I never want anyone to come back and say, "Hey, you lied on that call." Because I've been lied to, and it's very, very difficult. And it makes the work situation untenable. So, to me, I have prioritized those 5 things for the business. One, we have to control our expenses and and not globally, but we have to be really careful about where we're going to go and what countries we're going to go to and where we're going to expand without just throwing money at it. We have to have a business case and a use model for all this. And the back office used to be much better and more user friendly. Yeah, I don't know who the hell put together the back office today. It just doesn't make any sense to me at all. And again, if you don't if you don't want a real answer, don't ask the question. I think it sucks, and it's not integrated, and I can go chapter and verse on it. You got 2 systems that cost a lot of money that don't talk to anyone. You got a front end that you have to send new associates through that I can't get through because it's so effing boring to me. And I love you. You need to understand that I love this business. I love this product. I will tell you why I accepted this job in a moment. But it's just there are all these things. So you know you run into money problems when you invest in glamour projects. Yeah, because it's nice to say we broke into 18 African countries or 6 African countries. And by the way, my previous job, I went from going in South Africa. I sold a product. It doesn't make a difference, but Africa is a very very productive country continent. but it's tricky. It's very, very tricky. It can be very, very tricky to do business there. And so, but as I look at it, I don't think there's that many problems here. I know everyone on this call is saying, "Oh, you're missing it." You know, here's a problem. I went to a company, a healthcare company, and they thought that there was $5 million, $5.5 million in the bank. They just told this is United Health Group, so the largest health insurance company the world has ever seen, ever. By far the largest healthcare company in the world today, by far. And literally by 100% bigger than anybody else. And I walked into a division, they pulled me out and they put me in this division, and they thought there was $5.5 million in the bank. They thought that they were told and they reported they were going to do $7 to $10 million in sales and break even that year. There was no money in the bank. Actually, that's not true. There was $70,000 in the bank, but the company was burning or spending $90,000 a day in cash to keep the company going. There was no way they were going to do $5 to $7 million at the path they were on. And I took over in January, by the way. They were going to do $1.5 million. They were not going to break even. The loss profile for that year was going to be $28 million. They told me there was $5 million worth of payables. There were $14 million worth of unfiled bills in the desk I inherited as CEO. And they raised money under false pretense, which is a problem. And that was really the start of it. So this ain't so bad. Is what I'm saying. I wouldn't say this is I don't play golf, but I like the expressions. I wouldn't say this is a 3-foot putt. Yeah, by comparison, this is a 2-foot putt. That was a nightmare. There were more things that I unfortunately can't go into because there was illegal activity, and so I had to correct that too. That was difficult. This is let's get very focused on stuff, right? So let's not spend money where we don't have to spend money. Let us do whatever we can to release inventory to the field. So every single week for the last 3 weeks, I am scrimping and scraping and clawing and pulling together and so on and so forth. And I'm placing inventory orders and inventory is being released. So I think 2 weeks ago, it was released in the United States. This week it's going to Malaysia and Philippines. It'll start trickling around. And so I'm buying, between 5,000 and 10,000 units and shipping them out the door. And I don't care if I don't get paid, quite frankly. I mean, I do theoretically, but I don't because it's important. And so so I'm starting this not running out of inventory. I've already brought on 2 new manufacturers who are making products for us. So we don't have to rely on one single source manufacturing. I think we need to expand, but I think we need to, some of the areas I think we need to contract. They're just not making money. And so we need to put them, I call it put them on ice for a little bit. And once we feed the areas that everyone has cats on this call. Once we feed the beast and start growing this, we'll be able to open more markets. But I want to open them really predictably. So everyone says, "Oh, let's go to Mexico." What does that mean? Well, I mean, I understand what it means to go to Mexico, but how much does it cost? How much time is it? How disruptive is it? And so on and so forth. Let's go to Great Britain. That's fantastic. I want to go to China. I want to go to Singapore. I want to go to Thailand. I want to go to, I want to go. I want to be in Vietnam. I want to be in Japan. I mean, you can't top where I want to go to. I want to expand, but I don't want to expand at the cost of existing markets and talent. And I think we wanted to expand at any cost. And that is a classic throwing good money after bad. It's enthusiasm that takes over. It's your heart taking over what your head knows may or may not be correct. And the systems. Did I say this before? The systems suck. I think I said that. So, and I apologize if I've offended anyone's sensibilities, but the systems are just not. Exego is a good system, and NetSuite is a really good system. But we need to have a fully integrated system. We need to have affiliate portals where you guys log on and you push a button, you know exactly what you made that day and your entire downline made that day. That's just data. I'm a data junkie. I mean, that's my stock and trade. If I don't have the data to tell me that something is backed, I literally don't believe it. Um, and if I can't get to what I refer to as one version of the truth, because there aren't two versions of the truth. There's just one. And so I get antsy. So I have brought some people on who I've worked with for the last 10 years. Chris Merritt-Lish, who you will talk to at some point. He is a systems extraordinaire person. He's just done a full audit for me. I'm going to read it. I'm going to go through it tomorrow. I have set aside budget over the course of the next 6 months to address all these systems. I'm going to bring in a development team and they're going to solve this for us. How do I know that? Because they've solved the last 4 businesses for me. And they're going to come in and they're going to take care of this. But they're not going to take care of it because I tell them what to do. And this is the big problem. They're going to take care of it because you guys tell them what you need, right? Systems aren't good unless you use them. And systems don't work unless unless they build them around your needs. They can't build them around my needs. My needs are very simple. I need all the information so I can turn it into a report and tells me how the business runs. It's very my needs are very simple. Your needs are much more complicated. Again, as I said, onboarding people. I think our onboarding is, I mean, I think it's fine, it's functional, but it doesn't excite and it doesn't delight and it doesn't entertain and it doesn't hook people in right from the beginning. And that's what we really need to do. If you guys are going to build downlines and you guys are going to sell through and things like that, you're going to bring people on. Going through onboarding to me is sucking wet sand to try and get a drink of water. It's near impossible to be satiated. And again, I'm not blaming anyone for this because I'm not. I mean, the best decisions were made at the time. Um, so I like to say to people, it isn't my fault that we're here, but it is my problem, and I will fix it. So I think infrastructure and back office systems are they're not nice to haves, they're need to haves. We can't run a business on an abacus. We can't run a business with Uno cards and hopefully the right answers will be turned up. So, I'm a data guy. I'm a mark. Oh yeah. Thing is that I don't know how to sell without marketing material. I honestly I don't. Um, with cohesive, interesting, I'll use the word sexy just because I like the word, but sexy marketing that video marketing and integrated marketing and asymmetric responses and things that bring us all the way into the 2010s. Forget about the 2020s now. We're in like the 1980s. We got to get to 2010 and then we'll go to 2020. And so all of these things, they're all on the drawing board. And so for this year, I want to really focus on reducing our expenses, and I've taken a number of very large steps to do that. I have temporarily closed down offices. I've temporarily closed down areas. It's a hard thing to do, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do, because the needs of the profitable are really what dictates. And I'll open them back up. They're not closed for good. We fought very hard to get into a lot of these locations, and we're accepted in those locations. I can't continue to fund dramatic losses. And when we have a really great process of how to open offices and how to expand those offices, then we'll reopen them. Or maybe we won't. I'm picking on, I'll just say Cameroon. Maybe it doesn't make sense to have an office in Cameroon. I don't know. But for sure, there's a set of economics that we can go through that will tell us if it is and how to go after it. And by the way, maybe Cameroon doesn't make it because they don't have inventory. Maybe Cameroon doesn't make it because they don't have back office systems. Maybe Cameroon doesn't make it because their expense profile is wrong. Well, that's not fair to Cameroon, quite frankly. I mean, it's not fair to corporate because you have to fund those losses. But when we get really good at what this business needs and what you guys need, so you really have the answers. Where I'm good is asking people, and that's why I'm very direct. I'm good at asking people and getting answers of what those answers should be. I believe in open communication. So I've said this a number of times, and Chris and Tammy have heard me say this. As soon as my calendar comes up, and you should know, technology seems to be allergic to me. So I've tried to have my calendar up. I will make my calendar public to the entire company. And if I'm in the middle of a meeting with a person or discussing a topic, And you'll see it on my calendar. If you think going to that meeting is important for your learning, go to the meeting. Don't ask me. Just show up. All of my meetings have Zoom or some sort of video conferencing element to them. Just come. If you think you can learn, or you just want to hear how I'm beating somebody up, I'm just kidding. If you just want to hear how I'm dealing with the banks, no, you don't want to go to those calls either. If you want to hear about the new system that's coming up, or you want to hear how we're going to integrate, or you want to be a part of, and I'm going to talk about this in a second, just dial in. I promise. I would love it. It's not that I like an audience, but I would love it. Because I want people, I have an open communication style. I just do. And a lot of people say that, and I don't really think they tell the truth. You can go to the meetings you can't go to are human resource meetings because they're confidential. And typically the banks don't like when you go to their meetings. I don't know why. They don't ever say anything really important, but so those are, but any business meeting, have at it. Come. It's fine. If you have an idea about something we're doing wrong, I have you can't say something that will upset me. You can't. You really can't. I know it seems ridiculous, and I would like it if you don't curse or yell at me in public. But if you have to, you have to. I get that too. But if I'm talking about systems, or I'm talking about new products, because we're going to do new products. If I'm talking about expansion of manufacturing, or if I'm talking about going into new territories, or I'm talking to the marketing guys about banking marketing assets, I'm going to get to that next. Come to the meeting. Come. If you I'm asking you, I'm inviting you to come to these meetings. There's no reason you shouldn't hear how your company is doing and what we're doing to try to make it better. Let's talk about marketing assets. I think the company is woefully challenged in marketing assets. So, uh, I have already shot an infomercial, a 5-minute infomercial, and I'll have two minutes, 1 minutes, and some other stuff. I'm getting ready to develop a sizzle reel, or this is what Max International is, but it'll be cool, and it'll be sexy, and it'll be fun, but it should be entertaining, right? People should understand it, right? If I were to try to sell this, I would say, hey, you can never be too healthy or too rich. And by the way, we have the answer for both of those things. And so I know that sounds crass, but it's very direct. And I think people like when you deal with them directly. And so, I want to make sure, that I have a bank of assets that you guys can access unfettered, your keys to the kingdom. I want to have at least, and I was talking with Chris today, I want to have at least 100 social media ads that you guys can customize. I want to have video clips. I want to have, I already have two professional, one retired professional basketball player that I didn't shoot. I filmed last week in California. We have two Olympic runners or triathletes that we are filming. I have a very, very highbrow Harvard Yale physician who specializes in sports medicine and pain, who is endorsing this. I mean, endorsing it like crazy, endorsing it. He loves it. Right now, I think we have 5 or 7 testimonials, really great testimonials from all walks of life, older, younger, Black, white, men, women. We'll continue to bank those over the course of time. We'll get you, again, snippets of video, and then social media. I don't want you guys spending your time developing social media ads, or if you like that, then go ahead and do it. But I want you to be able to go through a library that we've put out there, and you just say, oh, I like this. Let me take this and let me send this to my network. But I want to make sure my name is on it, put your name on it. It's fine with me. And I think that I know that's going to help. There's another thing that that is particularly important to me. I spent a little bit of time in healthcare, and what was obvious to me was good healthcare is for rich people, and I find that offensive. I find that, I shouldn't say offensive, but I find that problematic. And I'm a big believer in, excuse me, what's known as population health, and that is whether you make $1 million a year, $100 million a year, or $1 a year, or not $1 a year, but you're earning a living, you should have access to really, really good product. You should have access to the keys to at least allow you to at least allow your body to be healthy in one way, shape, or form. Um, the only products in the world, and by the way, I have formulated 150 supplements myself with chemists. I probably have 200 additional formulations that I've developed with chemists. I like to solve problems. I like to solve health problems with supplements and ingestibles. I'm a big believer in it. I'm not such a big believer in drugs, just because for every good drug, there's at least one or more side effect associated with it. But supplements give your body, they literally supplement your body with what it's missing. By far, there isn't even a contest. As I like to say, it's McDonald's and Burger King. There's nothing in number 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? The best supplements in the world are our supplements, the Max International supplements. Hands down, no question about it. We just got back some data from a pilot study. I would tell you that the results, the statistical significance of the results on what we got are better than any, and I've done probably 50 clinicals in my professional career. They're better than any clinical results I have ever seen. They're astounding. Now, we haven't delivered them to you because we're having them checked and rechecked and rechecked, but they've already checked them 3 times. They're astounding. They're incredible. They're incredible. There's so much so that I think Max ought to get on the cover of AARP and say, these are the people that are going to make you live longer, right? Our products are are so phenomenal, and we haven't even tested our newest compound, our newest ingredient. So that's why I have to be the CEO of this company. That's why this company has to succeed for me, because it is the only way that I can get, satisfaction into population health. It's the only way that on the entire planet that we can give somebody a product that actually truly works and helps them. It helps reduce their inflammation. It helps reduce their pain. It helps reduce their recovery time. And it helps them sleep better. It helps them be more awake. It helps them reduce brain fog. All these things that exist, and you guys have been talking, you know it better than I do. We do it. It actually gets done. It legitimately gets done. And this is in a laboratory based on blood, not based on, oh, I think I feel better. This is based on blood analysis, phlebotomy analysis. And so this is now my life goal, is to make this work. And I know that I will. So if I have to yell at people on the bank, I'll do that. If I, and I just, that is so important to me. And it's so important that, this is my brother, I'll call you back. It's so important to me, and it's so important, for me to be able to create a platform and a runway for you guys to do what you do. And that's why, again, my rules of engagement, my priorities for this business are so simple: reduce cost, increase marketing, increase marketing, get you what you need to market, expand what we are expanding, right? Fix the systems that we have. I like to say, and Joe Wojcicki always laughs at me. I'm a global domination person. We're the only people with this, and so we should be everywhere. We should really be everywhere. The fifth one of these, and I'll shut up because I'm really yammering on here, and I apologize. The fifth one of these goals that I think needs to be set, and I want to be very clear. We are a network marketing company, and we should put a substantive amount of effort into maintaining that and into growing that. For me to say I'm not sure we've done that all the time, I haven't been here, but I want to make sure that the MLM part of this business is steady and sturdy and growing. Now, you've all heard about the affiliate network. I'm assuming you've heard about the affiliate. And then the affiliate network's like an MLM online. It's not. It's a different business. Let me just say that it's a different business. It's the only similarity is that we sell product and the same product, but it's a very different business. The affiliate business is a fast way to maybe make money, but it's not a long-term way to get repeat sales, I have found. It doesn't mean that there's not a place for it, because of course there's a place for it, but it needs to be managed, and it needs to be managed around not stepping on the toes of the MLM, of the network marketing. Direct to consumer, another great, huge opportunity for us. But what the direct to consumer business can't do is it can't step on the toes of the MLM. Be doing this. And by the way, the fact that we have such a tiny US business is bizarre. A North American business. I don't understand it. So we'll fix that. And so those are my goals. And anyone who knows me knows that I am as impatient as a pregnant rabbit. I'm not patient at all. I'm not foolish, but I think it's important to say what you're going to do and do it. I am not, I say this all the time. I don't underpromise and overdeliver. I don't overpromise and underdeliver. I just promise and deliver. And if something gets in the way, everyone knows that there's a problem. And, I am not immune to making mistakes. No one is immune to making mistakes. But I own up to them. And I always come up with a plan B. And I share the plan B, because if plan A didn't work, then that's that. So that's way more, I'm sure, than you guys wanted to hear. I apologize for that. But that's a little bit something about me. I've got some questions here. What are the underlying factors and root cause contributing to the product shortage? I can be short and sweet, and tell you that people didn't pay attention to it the way they needed to pay attention to it. But that's not an indictment of anyone else, because there's a lot of other things to pay attention to. I can't give you a straight answer other than the fact that it's a problem and I'm fixing it. And I'm in the middle of fixing it now. I've got two additional, I actually had a Phil House buy two additional encapsulating machines, because I made them have 5 encapsulating machines before I'd give them any business. So they went out and bought 2 last week. And so they're setting them up, and they're gonna start to fill right away. I think what wound up happening is we got into a slippery slope with some of the countries we went into. We got a little short on cash. We doubled down on those countries, as opposed to saying, look, everything you do doesn't always happen perfectly out of the box. I have a philosophy, which is, it's a 2-part philosophy. If you're gonna fail, do it quickly and inexpensively. Just quick. You fail at something all the time, right? Just do it, go in, understand what you have to do. If it doesn't work, quickly and inexpensively, right? And never, never, never throw good money after bad. And I have a sense that a little of that happened and money got tied up. So I'm not throwing good money after bad. I'm reducing the time that are unprofitable. So I actually support, it's one thing to have 4 or 5 people selling, and it's one thing to have a business that is sort of scraping by stuff. But if I've got if I have 8 offices that are losing $400,000 each, that's $3.5 million. And it's $3.5 million that should be going to inventory, quite frankly, or should be going to back office systems, or should be going to commissions, or should be going to bonuses, or should be going to trips. It should be going anywhere, but just throwing it in a hole. So I think I have turned that around. And again, every week I'm releasing more and more inventory into the marketplace. I apologize if you haven't seen that, but you will. I would like to say, coming to a neighborhood near you. So, but those underlying factors will never be repeated. I can tell you that. And so they'll have to pull me out, pull my cold dead body out before I would repeat something like that. Given the instability of the product inventory over the last year, it may seem ambitious to intensify publicity efforts from Max International in April, May. It's a very, I don't know who asked this question, but it's an excellent question. And let me tell you something. You're 100% right. You're 100% right. So there is, it says, if demand exceeds supply, it can cause irreparable reputational risk. Can you provide assurances regarding the timely fulfillment of backorder product? So yes, I can. I can represent that. As I said before, I've got two other places that are making this. We're buying out of Capstone. We're expanding our footprint, and we are not going to throw good money after bad. There is a message going around that says Flickr wants everyone, it wants to be in Mexico by the middle of April, or he's going to shoot people. That's not true. Let me just say it's not true. I don't think we can get there, and I don't want to throw money at something. I know we can get there, but I want to be able, and I don't want to throw money at something. So Latin America, we need to shore up Latin America. I spent 2.5 hours with them the other day, talking to them about what we need and so on and so forth. When that's solidified and we're going to go into Mexico because that whole area needs to be something. I would like to see a region director for that entire area, which I think we have. And we'll get to Mexico when it's good and ready to get to Mexico. I don't want to say, oh, if we take our time, it'll cost $400,000. But if we run in, it'll cost $900,000. You know what? We'll take our time. I'd rather be done right than fast. That's another axiom that I have in business. So we're not going to repeat that. And as much as I would like to have a grand hoo-ha about going into Mexico at that time, I'm not sure we can make it. But that doesn't stop the fact that I'm going to give you guys marketing and marketing materials so that we can start to market in your area and make people aware of what we've got. Additionally, what strategic objectives are being pursued within the next 5 years? If you want to hear my 5-year plan, okay, that's good. I'm glad, particularly in terms of percentage allocation between affiliate markets and associate production model. So, you know, we have to see really what holds water. We're going to test a bunch of things. I happen to think that direct to consumer will work and will create a halo of understanding of what this does. So it allow the both affiliates as well as the network marketing to thrive. Part of the problem is that glutathione is not only unknown by most people, it's actually hard to say. I know that sounds silly, but there was an Eva Longoria commercial, I think it was for Lancome, and literally hyaluronic acid is, it's not even new anymore, but it's a big skincare ingredient. No one knew how to say it. No one knew what it was, and they were trying to say it. They were trying to sell it. Eva Longoria got on TV and did, I think, a commercial again. I think it was for Lancome, and all she said was hyaluronic acid. It doesn't make a difference how you pronounce it. What you need to know is it builds cell structure so it can reduce the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. So they got out, so glutathione and ribosine, people don't know what it does. And so we have to teach the world what it does. We have to teach the world why it's important, right? And so as far as this question is, strategic objectives to be pursued in the next 5 years are, the biggest strategic objective is to make the world aware that this exists. The second biggest strategic objective is to get it to them. Absolutely. And so I have a goal that we want to make sure that 50% of the world can access our products. So when I talk about global domination, I'm literally not talking just words. There is no reason based on the product set that we have, based on how great the products work, based on how many people will give testimonial to that, based on the doctors there, based on, and I know 50 celebrities that would happily go on camera and talk about this because they love the product, right? We are going to market, we are going to supply, and we are going to sell. And when we get really, really good at that, and we can do it 100 million times a year, that's the goal. So what sounds boring today about systems and back orders and inventory and things like that are fundamental elements to this business. And it is my feeling, and again, you need to understand, Joe and Jim, they're friends of mine. I like them very much. I think because of COVID, and it's hard for me to tear this apart, but I think because of COVID and the lack of business, and by the way, I probably would have handled COVID a little bit differently. I would have spent so much money in marketing during COVID in this business. It made everyone's head spin. I would have overspent in marketing. I would have taken advantage of the COVID time period a little bit differently. And I would have done more online stuff and, and just propagated this a little bit. Doesn't make me smarter. It just makes me a good Monday morning quarterback. And
Jonathan,
so,
I don't want to interrupt, but this is publicly viewed. There's no limits. So let me know because this may have to be edited. So I just want to give you a bit of a.
all I can tell you is my personal experience. I will not testify that glutathione is the key to COVID. I can tell you, I caught every round of COVID for 2 years, and I did not catch the last 2 rounds. And I take Celgevity. I drink ATP. It's on my desk, and I appreciate that. Switch. I every single day I take these products. Every single day. And my wife got it. My kids got it. I didn't get it. And I am the genetic weak link in my family. Let me just tell you. So, but I appreciate that because I don't want to have to send out a safe harbor letter. What are actions to be taken up by the virtual office? Excuse me. It's a good question. I think we need to figure that out. I have, again, like I said, I have an audit. I went over a couple of high elements with them today. I'm going to spend 5 hours with them tomorrow to review the entire thing. After tomorrow, I'll be able to give you a better understanding about the virtual office. But things like auto ship and let's see, auto ship, speed, inscription, stuff like that. That's all just due to non-integrated systems. And without auto ship, without continuity shipment and subsequent shipments, I think it becomes very hard for everyone to realize or recognize the full potential of this business. And so I agree with you. Again, it's a systems and it's an inventory issue, and it's not a like to get fixed. I'd like to get that fixed. It has to get fixed. It has to get fixed because it hinders the delivery of this product. It has to get fixed because it delivers or it hinders the structure of the business. It hinders commissions, and ultimately it hinders people's compliance and stick-to-itiveness to the product, and therefore it hinders people's health to not have it there. And I can't knowingly go to sleep at night having that be the case. So it's one of the top 5 priorities for the business. It would be nice to receive or find in the virtual office at the end of each year an official sheet with total income and total in products purchased. I don't know who asked that question, but I'm going to get it before the end of the year. I'm doing this as a hand-drawn report. I can't wait for a system to do it for me. And so it's funny, I can show you the spec, and I handed it in last week. But I'm going to get that report. I will have a number of units sold by country, and then within the country, I want to try to get it to the distributor. I want to know what the profit from that product, making sure that people understand the price points are right. Are there different ways to sell it? Can we load people up? Can we sell them 5 bottles instead of 1? Are there different ways? In other words, I want the data. I need to have the data. You need to have the data so that we can make smart decisions on how we can tweak our sales so it makes it more important. If somebody has 5 people in their house, they should be buying 5 bottles of Celgevity, 1 for every person. But we don't really have that data now, so we really can't figure it out. But I'm working on it. I cannot have this company. I was double negative in this. Sorry. This company needs that information really badly. It's a piece of information that is not a nice to have. It is a need to have. We need to know performance. Just like I said, you should be able to go to your own personal portal, and I want everyone in the company, new or old, as they come on Stone Server, they will have their own personal portal. They'll get updates, they'll get information, they'll get newsletters, they'll get announcements, but it'll be in their personal portal. They don't have to, and when they bring people in, they can show them this is what an advanced personal portal looks like. This is, something to aspire to, something that makes, and I hate to use this word, but something that gamifies part of what we're doing. Customers are unhappy that they're charged for products and are on back order. I'd be very, very angry if I were that. I don't like that. I just found out that we're charging and not shipping. And that has to be corrected. It has to be corrected. It will be corrected with inventory, and treat customers like that. I should have opened by saying every single thing that I do and every single thing that I ask my direct reports and the company to do is, if you want something, you've got to explain to me how it will positively affect the customer, or else I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. So inventory positively affects the customer. Cost reduction positively affects the customer. Back office systems positively affects the customer. Marketing, everything, every single thing. If it doesn't positively affect the customer, put it in a file and remind me about it next year. And then I'll tell you to put it in a file and remind me about it the year after that. Everything we do. So shipping somebody a bill and having them pay and not giving them product is the most negative thing that you can do to a customer. And it bothers the heck out of me that we do that. And so that is, when I found out we did that, I called Capstone, the manufacturer, and I said, you have to let me buy inventory out of your warehouse. You have to let me buy it. I know I owe you money. You'll get the money, but you have to let me buy inventory. I've got customers who have paid for product and we haven't shipped them, and I can't live like that. So that is what what drove me to really prioritizing 3 out of the 5 things that we talked about here. Please let us know the future of Max in Africa. The future of Max in Africa is wide open. Africa is a very, very interesting continent. The Chinese have invested trillions of dollars over the last 15 years or 20 years into Africa. Cities like Lagos has more per capita millionaires than any other city in the United States. These markets will become bigger and stronger over the course of time. They have some of the worst healthcare in the world. And so big populations, available capital, bad healthcare, we have to be there. I'm actually talking with a number of people to import metric tons of our product into smaller villages around Africa so that we can distribute Celgevity and some of these products to people who are really in need of it. That will be paid for because we have a bigger, excuse me, and sustainable business in the other regions in Africa and also around the world. Africa's got its complexities with hyperinflation. Africa has got its complexities with warehousing. It's got its complexities with distribution channel. So I need to personally spend time and understand what the best way to sell into Africa and how to make sure. And by the way, if that means we have to open up our own warehouses in Africa, we will open up our own warehouses in Africa so that we don't have to wait. We'll put product there, so it's there on the ground. I'll put a fulfillment person there, and we'll ship into that facility, and then we'll distribute through Africa there. But right now, it's complex. It's hard. I will also tell you that for the last 10 or 15 years, I've worked with the second largest international logistics company in the world. You can go look them up. Their name is Hub Group, the Hub, HUB Group. Jill Kettleson is the senior vice president. I met her 15 years ago. I have brought her into every business. Part of our problem is we have a logistics issue in delivering product into Africa and other places around the world. We have to solve for that. I'm not going to wait for us to build a logistics group in-house. I don't, I think that'll take a long time. We will go through a lot of people and we won't solve this problem. We have to solve this problem now. So Mike Cesny, who most of you have either heard of or know, so on and so forth, he is working right now with Jill to set up the hub group within Max so that we can actually double down and get that part of our logistics into shape. Because I don't think we're there yet, and we need to be there. When you boat something over to Africa and then you have to go and transport across land, it can be very, very complicated. It just can be. I don't pretend to understand it, but I know the complexity because I have sold there. We need the assistance of professionals. And oh, by the way, they'll probably do it cheaper than we're doing it ourselves right now. So the future of Africa, I think, is very bright. But we need to overcome that. And And I need to work with you and with your people to understand really what the details. So for me to say logistics, that's easy. For me to say hyperinflation, we got to do something, that's easy because I understand. It's the parts that I don't know that need to be corrected so we can finalize that. And that's why, it looks like I have 1 minute left. That's why meetings like this are so incredibly important to me because stuff comes up that I was like, why didn't anyone else ever say that? I don't understand. Oh yeah, it's been a problem for 10 years. Okay, let's fix it. I'm not a big believer of if this is garbage, I can put it under the paper, I can throw it on the ground, I can hide it in my pocket, or if it's garbage, I can throw it away. Let's just throw away the garbage. Let's do more of what works and less of what doesn't. And while you're acting entrepreneurially and while we're moving quickly, you make mistakes. It's just part of it. I don't know if anyone skis, but if you're skiing, you're really skiing hard stuff, you fall. As long as you don't break a bone, you're okay. You get up and you ski some more. So we're going to move quickly on stuff that we can move. We're going to move intelligently because we're going to have data. We're going to move thoughtfully because we're going to have integrated systems. And we're going to move with thorough and open communication. And that, my friends, is the driver to success. Those are the keys. That's how I generated more than 11 or 12 or 13 billion dollars. It's through communication. People need to know when something is wrong. People know when something is right. In the world of wrong and right, good news finds its way to the P&L. Bad news has to find its way to my desk so we can solve the problem. And so honesty is a big deal for me. Don't hide your feelings. Don't hide your problems. I can't solve them if they're hidden. I assure you, I can solve them if we know about them.
Thank you, Jonathan. That was very illuminating and inspiring. And in fact, Tammy and I feel, I can feel Tammy kept, she's getting excited. So we really appreciate the transparency of everything you're sharing. And folks, listen, just bear with me here. I know we're going to get, I hope that's okay, just get a little bit over the hour. There is some questions that were posted on the chat. I'd like to address them.
Good,
But
let's do it. If everyone's okay, I've got another probably 15 minutes, but it's entirely up to you guys. I'll go
We won't
quickly.
take much. Yeah, exactly. Just very quickly, Sylvie asked about the languages. It's always been a bit of a barrier. I know Max has done, the best they can, but when it comes to different languages, it's always been a bit of a barrier. French, English, Spanish, and eventually, how do you plan to handle that?
So it's a good question, and I have a decidedly cool answer. Chris Meritlish, who again you guys will meet, he's finished the audit. He's now going to get into marketing. He's going to get into a couple of other areas. He is an artificial intelligence thought leader. I don't know how else to say it. He's been doing AI work for more than 10, the whole time I've known him, so more than 10 years. Really super impressive stuff. What we want to try to do is, I had a call with Asia this morning, and apparently I was speaking too quickly, so I'm trying to be a little bit more measured. But what we want to do is we want to have immediate on-demand translation. We want to be able to have on-demand translation for marketing purposes. So if you need something in French, we'll have it, and it will translate the marketing verbiage into French. If you need it in Spanish, if you need it in Hmong, if you need it wherever, I think we have 138 languages that we can translate to. It's the same thing with video. We'll feed it through an AI video machine. And so it's not dubbed. It'll look as though the people are speaking the language.
With the AI?
And so that we have that already. On these international meetings, I want the whole world. So when we have a meeting in Mexico, I want everyone to be able to dial in and stream those meetings. As I said to Joe, I want those meetings to be like the Olympics. I want everyone to be on those calls, and I want everyone to be able to go to there. And we're not there yet, but we want everyone to be able to go and either get subtitles in a language that they speak or have it automatically dubbed out in a language that people can understand.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that. The next question from Sandra Nimusima, it has to do with the authorship. I can testify, Tammy and I, we change authorships and stuff. And I know that there is issues right now. It could be quite challenging. And I know she's losing a little bit of faith and all of that. And her question is, how can you, I mean, you've covered a lot of grounds that I think answers that question.
No,
but
it's
how do you
okay. It's
expect-
a good question. I'm an
Yeah.
authorship guy.
Yeah.
I am really an auto ship guy. Auto ship is the lifeblood of this business.
Mhm.
The initial acquisition of a customer oftentimes costs more money than you actually get for it in some instances. And so auto ship is really where the money is made. And I'm a capitalist, so if you find that crass, I apologize. But auto ship is it is a top priority. It has to be fixed. It has to be done properly. There are in the United States, there are Federal Trade Commission laws around auto ship. There's laws around taking a credit card and not shipping. I mean, there are laws around things like this, and I will not run afoul of those laws. Auto ship has to go out on time. It has to go out as prescribed. You can't mix it up. There's all these sort of things. And once you lose an auto ship, once you slip in auto ship, you disrupt what's referred to, and you guys know this better than I do, the customer's sales cycle, right? So if it takes you 45 days to use a tube of toothpaste, your toothpaste sales cycle is 45 days. These products are made for 30-day cycles. If we go 45 days, they're not going to be taking it for 15 days. They are going to return it. They're not going to want to be it. We have to, have to fix that. That is as high of a priority as I can think of. And that will come with inventory, but it's also coming with platform programming and system integration. So it's very, very high on the to-do list.
So I've been working with Sandra for a couple weeks. It's more the technical in her back office. She's trying to remove a product to add a product, and that function
Yeah.
has been.
Been
So it's
there.
interesting. I didn't know that. And Tammy, if you wouldn't mind, maybe you and I can have a call tomorrow and you can give me some detail. I did not, I'm glad you said that because I did not know that. But if you can give me some color on that offline. So here's another thing. I don't like to solve problems on big meetings like this, but I want to surface them and then take them offline and solve them. If we have bigger issues, I do what I call skunk. I stole it from J. Robert Oppenheimer, Skunk Works. I'll put people from all parts of the company together in a team, and they have to solve the problem interdepartmentally. So it can't just be good for the finance people. It can't be good for the operations people. It's got to be good for the sales people, for the inventory people. Everyone needs to be in the solve. So it's a group of about 6 or 7 people. They solve it, they program it, and then they go back to their jobs. So I strongly believe in doing that. And so Tammy, maybe tomorrow you and I can get on the phone and you can just give me some more information on that so I can get on it. Okay.
Yeah, and I even had Sandra do a video of the process, so you're gonna have the detail of it.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great.
And you
Thank you.
do have a customer service, Cecilia, which is also very much in tune with what's going on. Okay, so let me just go speed this up because I know that time's running out. Let's see here. Let me go down. Okay, let's see. I don't think this should remain up publicly. Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, Linda, I'll come back to yours because that's probably an end call. Lucy, it's when the question actually came from Lucy in reference to be able to show the income. I can testify that Tammy and I work with organization like the GoPro and everything else, and to be part of that, you have to show proof of income. And for my own taxes, my accountant keeps saying, "Can you give me a report?" And honestly, I have to go through Paris to go to Montreal from Toronto to put this report together because it doesn't come out nice. It's a little difficult, and that's what that was the question I was referring to. Just a simple report that we can submit to our tax people.
So that's a classic. I don't think that's a Skunk Works item. I need to understand the specs, and we need to get that program. That seems like I don't know how hard of a fix it is, but you guys cannot be going to your tax preparation professional and not have that documentation.
Yeah,
I'd be
okay, so
yelling
that's
at me
good.
if I were you.
Well,
I
you know,
would be. I mean, that's not acceptable. And I don't care what the problem is. I mean, I care. I said it wrong.
we hear you.
I care what the problem is. I don't care how hard it is to fix. It's got to get
No,
fixed.
we hear you. Totally. Another one is, will Nigeria ever come back?
I hope
again,
so. I'm sending somebody to Nigeria to actually figure it out.
Yeah.
I hope so. I mean, Nigeria is an interesting place. I don't know if it's going to be an MLM. I don't know if it's associate. I don't know if it's direct sales. I don't know. I don't know, but I have I call them a wolf. I have a wolf who I'm going to send down to Nigeria to figure it out for me.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
we worked
Appreciate that.
so hard to build these markets through the network marketing channel.
Right. And so, but that doesn't mean we should exit them, by the way. If there's another way to sell, I'll give you a perfect example. I used to be able to, in a previous company, I don't have any here with me. In a previous company, there was, I think it was Uganda or maybe it was Angola. I can't remember what it was. They only wanted to buy samples, but samples didn't have a price tag and they were oftentimes too expensive. But they bought samples and they wanted to sell. So I figured out a way to only sell them samples, right? Well, they bought an entire store, and the entire store had about 14,000 samples in it, and they were wildly profitable for me. Wild. So we solved the problem. It was not an orthodox way to solve it, but we solved it. And that's okay. I mean, you can't always, that's what it means to be an entrepreneur. Sometimes you got to take two sticks together and make I don't know, make something other than two sticks.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
And by the way, guys, if I put a check mark beside your questions, it's because it's been handled. Let's see here. Bernadette, what is the future of the cosmetic line that was implemented into Max?
Great question. First of all, Bernadette, there's a great song called Bernadette, and every time I hear the name Bernadette, I think about it. So sorry, or not sorry, actually. Skincare line. I alluded to it earlier. I'm a big skincare person. I have created 35 skincare lines that have gone maybe 20. Again, Proactive was one. Meaningful Beauty with Cindy Crawford was one. Sheer Cover was one. Victoria Principal had a skincare line. I've done doctor lines and so on and so forth. So, I think that we need to, and that this is going to be a next year conversation, but I think we need to really discuss what other products should we be selling through these channels. I think skincare is a super, super viable option, but I need to understand. I know the economics of skincare pretty well just because I've been doing it for so long. So if I didn't, it would make me silly. But I need to understand what we think the demand is. I need to understand how we can make it part of the sale. Do we have a skincare that includes glutathione? Actually, I've already worked with somebody that there is something kind of like ribosine that we can put in skincare. I don't know if you can make a claim with it. I don't know if that's important. So yes, I want to do lots of things that are complementary to our core items. I don't know why we wouldn't do that. I mean, it seems natural. And when you sell, you become the trusted advisor across a number of things. So let's exploit that as an opportunity. I don't think we're going to get to it this year, but I think that it'll probably wind up in the strategic plan for next year and the year after to really develop complementary non-supplement products.
We had
Appreciate
an
that.
existing cosmetic line. I think that was.
I know. I know. I haven't seen. I haven't seen it. I haven't really. Uh, I haven't gotten into it. I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's not good. My guess is if we made it, it's probably very good. Um, you know, there are issues with it. I can go chapter and verse on it, but you've got expiration issues, you got international, drug claim issues, you got international ingredient issues and things like that. So it's not always quite as things that seem easy. Um, they just take time, and I want to make sure that we shore up the business before we get to those things.
Sure. Appreciate that. Now we're going to end it on this note. Linda, I passed your question here, which I believe you did reference, Jonathan, but I'm just going to address it here. Did you share why you took this job? You did, but maybe you can summarize it. Except to hear all the plans for you. Will you share your progress and success periodically and how?
As I said before, about 15 or 20 years ago, I remember I was driving home from work and I pulled over and I had just gotten a job. I got an offer. I can't even remember what it was, but it was something that was kind of silly. But it made a lot of money. So was it silly? And I remember talking to my wife about it. My wife said to me, "What are you going to tell your daughter you do?" And it was an interesting thought. Um, I have a son and a daughter. My son's 26. My daughter's going to be 24. and I'm very, very, very proud of them, and I love them very much. And I protect my wife and kids irrationally. And so, but it was a good question. And at that point, I thought I'm going to really dedicate the rest of my professional career in somehow to emotionally or physically or from a health or wellness standpoint, uh, bring products to market that people can benefit from. They can benefit psychologically, So I sold a lot of acne. Proactive was the largest direct consumer brand of all time. You can't imagine how important um, not having acne is for a teenager. You can't imagine things like dandruff or bad breath or body odor and things like that. These are crushing problems. My wife and I started a full body deodorant business. And we got emails from people say, I have a autistic child and they don't like to take a shower. So thank God you got this because, they can go ahead. And so, I mean, you think, oh, deodorant. I mean, but if you do it the right way and it's easy to use and it's really effective and so on and so forth. And so I can't think of anything more important. There's two, I wound up in two areas, healthcare, but democratically distributed healthcare. Not, you don't have to be rich. I don't represent really expensive plastic surgeons. I won't do that. There's a place and time for all of that. I don't really represent people who have clinics that cost $1 million to become a part of so they can get the nearest longevity. That's not what's important to me. And I think that's great. Don't get me wrong, because that sets the stage for everything else. What's important to me is what can I do in the little time I have left to do stuff that can really help the most number of people. And Max is it. There is no question to me that Max is it, and that I believe that I'm on this path because I can help the business. I've done this, as I said before, I've done this before. I can bring some ideas. I can open up the communication. But the most important thing for me is to give you guys the tools that you need so that we can distribute this all over the planet. So when I really talk about global domination, I'm not just kidding around. And I'm not dominating like I want to be an imperialist and take over like Attila the Hun. What I'm talking about is global domination of fixing the healthcare crisis on this planet. And I think this Max product is I'm not smart enough to make this up. So I just want to let you know that this Max product is really the most direct route to allow us to get that done. That's why communication is important. So inventory is important. That's why closeness and meetings like this. So I can't be any more sincere about this. I don't know how to be any more sincere about this. If we do this right, you can actually affect the health of millions of people on the planet. There's almost nothing that you can do that I can think of that will do that easy. And just by taking a pill or two pills, you can positively help somebody achieve their healthcare goals. I would pay to work here just to do that. Honestly, I really would. And so, I only have 5 things that I want to get through this year. I hope to get through those 5 things. When I say I want to refoundate the business of these things, it's because I have to. Because this doesn't work unless we have a good back office, unless we have inventory, unless we have good marketing, and non-confusing marketing, unless we can talk in all the languages we need to talk in. These are the things that have to get done because that's what it means to fulfill the prophecy of this business. This business has never seen its full potential as far as I'm concerned. And I will work myself and I will work my team to support you guys to get that vision done. So thank you
I'm
for
not sure if
letting
you
me into your
paused.
house. I
Sorry,
apologize.
we lost you for a few seconds. I wasn't sure if we were waiting for you to come back or if you paused.
No, I mean,
Appreciate it.
this is like, I'm not a religious guy necessarily. I'm a spiritual guy. So there's some crossover there, but I feel that I've worked all this time so I can be in the position that we can really all work together to affect global health. And I cannot think of a more important thing. The only other thing I can think of is global education. That's the only other thing that I would be doing right now in my life. as a professional, but I'm not a teacher, so no one will let me do that. But this is as close to giving people access to good health. There is no diet regimen. There is no medicinal regimen. There is no exercise regimen. There is no supplement regimen that is complete without our product, period. You need our product for any of those things to be maximized. You need those products for your body to absorb and to recover and to repair and to be what it can be. And we hold those keys. No one else on the planet does. It is our duty. It is my duty. It is my calling to lead this company to make sure we get that done.
Thank you very, very much, Jonathan. That was absolutely very, very generous of your time here this evening. And folks, I do understand that there's so much more, but remember, these calls are happening every single week. Just show up every single week.
Tell your
And-
friends.
And if that's okay with you, Jonathan, is when you feel that there's something to report, communicate with us. We will come back here and we'll fill up this room with the updates of what's going on. I think you got everybody in the edge of their seats right now, and you're looking forward to results. And I also wanted to acknowledge Joe Wojtecki that's actually here. Also, Crown
Joe.
Admin and Turnbull. Yeah, I mean, people popped
Joe
in.
sneaks in. He never says hello to me.
He's just being respectful. Joe is an amazing guy, so I just wanted to make sure that he was acknowledged, and not mention without mentioning all of you here that are that post the questions. Thank you so much for your patience, and folks, I'm telling you, of course, Temi and I have done everything we can, but of course, without you, without the company, there's nothing that we can do. And I
Right.
think together we're stronger, and that's another statement. And I think that after this call tonight, we hear and we see where we're going. So now it's up to you. It's up to you. So we can turn around and sit on our soapbox and whine or complain, or we can go forward and start doing things, understanding that, okay, we're still dealing with the small little things. We will overcome those. As you saw, as you heard earlier, Jonathan mentioned that there's been situation a lot worse than that. I mean, way worse than that he handled. And here we are with something that there's work to be done, but it can be handled. Now we just need to keep moving forward. So I want to acknowledge everybody for your attendance. Tammy, is there thing you wanted to add?
Just want to say thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're trying to get everything done in the back end, but it means a lot to the team that you showed up today and they got a chance to get to know you and what your goals and mission and purpose is and being part of Max International. And you're right, we've got the best thing on the planet. We just need to get those products and we got to, those top things that you were talking about. It's a necessity for people to move forward.
Yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
Thank
I
you
guess,
for having me. I
Jonathan,
appreciate you letting me into your living rooms.
oh, it's a real pleasure. So we're looking forward to another call like this. And folks, just show up same time. We've been doing this for 17 years, and maybe this call's been going on for at least 10 years. Every Monday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern time. I know we had a time change, but for North Americans, we're used to that.
We're used to-
Okay, everybody, have yourself a great evening. And again, Jonathan, thank you so much. And
Absolutely.
folks, share
Thank
the
all
love.
of you. I appreciate you.
Thanks for
Share the love. Thank you so much.